Hi, we're now live. Thank you everyone for joining us for today's Hangout on Google Ad Manager Spring Cleaning. My name is Jake Pace. I'm a product specialist here at Google, and it's my role to help roll out new product releases and help our partners get them implemented so that they can be monetizing the best way possible. One moment while I switch over to my slides. Okay, so today we're going to be going through our spring cleaning tips. This will be discussing how to increase demand and also improve supply with Google Ad Manager. And you will notice that these are basically a cycle. One will feed into the other. As you improve the quality of your supply, you will get more demand. So today we'll be going through ad technologies, in-article and in-feed video, multi-size ads, page performance, viewability, expanding your AdX competition, opportunities and experiments, and also some quick Q&A. So onto ad technologies. Ad exchange buyers often have ad technology vendors providing them with tools such as ad servers, research technologies, and remarketing. All of these vendors need to be explicitly approved to run in ad exchange, and they're opted out by default. So to enable these, you can go into the Protections tab, New Protections, Ad Content, and then look under Opt-ins. So as you'll see in the screenshot below, there are a ton of them there that you can opt into. These will increase demand and auction pressure by allowing your buyers that require those ad technologies to bid on your inventory. These technologies can be allowed for selected inventory or all inventory. In-article and in-feed video. So these are video ads that appear between paragraphs of editorial content in the case of in-article, and for in-feed, it appears between items in a feed like news or social media. These types of videos are known as outstream video because the ads do not run during an existing video stream, unlike traditional pre-roll ads, which are known as in-stream. So for these formats, video autoplays when 50% of the ad is in view, and then pauses when the content is out of view. It does play muted, but then the audio can be initiated by the user, and it must run in the main content area of the site or app. It's not able to be run in a right rail or any other kind of non-body area. It does not require a video player, which is great. It's super easy to implement because it just uses the existing GPT tag. And the most important thing here is that it runs both display and video ads in competition. This means that you will always get the highest price, regardless of whether it's coming from video or display. These will help to beat each other up higher. And it also means that, unlike some outstream solutions where publishers complain about low fill, you don't actually have to worry about that for our in-article and in-feed video, because whenever video does not fill, you will always have display as a backup. So enabling this is easy. In the Protections tab, you can look under New Protection, Add Content, and then in the opt-in section, it is in Video Experiences. And it is just this video toggle, one click there, and you can opt it into whichever inventory you would like. The only thing to keep in mind is that it won't serve on inventory below 256 pixels, except for the 300 by 250, which has a special rule applied to it. So now onto multi-size ads. So similar to what I was discussing with the outstream videos, multi-size ads allow you to increase your auction pressure by having various sizes bid against each other from a single request. So the way to do this is you set your GPT tag to request all of the sizes that you would allow for a given ad slot on the page. Then you configure your ad exchange line items with all of those necessary sizes, making sure that they match, of course. You then generate your multi-size AdX creative, and your GPT ad slot will automatically resize to fit whichever ad size wins. This is actually one of the easiest ways to increase auction pressure. One thing that we do recommend, you might find it easiest, is to group all of your horizontal sizes together and group all of your vertical sizes together. So this means that if you have a right rail and you want all of your tall ads, and you don't mind if it's a 160 by 600 or 300 by 600, you can allow them all to serve in that one slot. Page performance. So one tool that we love here at Google is the Page Speed Insights tool. This can audit and benchmark your key metrics for users viewing and interacting with your site, plus provide actionable steps to improve the performance of your page. So we suggest that you follow the suggestions to save users time and data when viewing your site. Faster pages can boost ad speed, viewability, impressions, and many other factors that are going to lead to increased monetization, especially on mobile devices, which typically have a slower data connection, slower processor, and generally could use some help. This is available at the developers.google.com/speed link. And I definitely recommend everyone take a look at this today for their own domains and see what the score comes back like. Viewability. This is actually one of the most important factors for ad performance. It is a measure of whether an ad was able to be seen by the user after it was displayed on the page. The key metric to look for in your reports is active view percentage viewable impressions. This is the percentage of viewable impressions out of all of the measurable impressions. So you can see the math there is viewable impressions divided by measurable impressions times 100. So for example, if you say that the ads on your site had 100 measurable impressions, that means that there are 100 impressions where active view enabled tags were able to measure viewability. If only 10 out of those 100 impressions were measured as viewable, then your site would have 10% viewable impressions. It's always helpful to look at graphics such as this one when trying to help understand how viewability works. Out of all of the total impressions served, you have eligible impressions, then measurable impressions, and then a small subset of that will be your viewable impressions. Why does this matter? So each ad request to the open auction actually includes a percentage likelihood that this slot will be viewable for the user. This is based on both historical performance for this ad slot and also environmental data for the current user. Things like which browser they're on, what type of device it is. This is reported to buyers in 10% increments, rounded down. So a 99% viewable slot will appear to buyers as 90%. Authorized buyers can choose to only bid on inventory, which meets their specified viewability threshold. So this is actually a consideration for many buyer campaigns on Google's DV360 platform, which means that you get fewer bids on low viewability inventory. Low viewability or unviewable or unmeasurable inventory will see lower CPMs on the open auction, as fewer bids means reduced auction pressure and therefore lower bids. Any improvements that you can make to viewability are likely to improve CPMs. Even moving a slot from 59 to 60% could bring in additional demand from buyers who have a viewability threshold set at 60%. So you could suddenly see an influx of buyers simply by moving a couple of points. So now, how can you optimize your implementation to maximize viewability? The first thing is to consider user habits. Ad slots at the top of the page generally have a lower viewability than creatives just above the fold, since users often scroll down immediately as a page loads, especially if you're doing something like viewing a news article. This causes the top of the page slots to be out of view before 1 second elapses, and therefore the ad is deemed unviewable. Lazy loading can also affect viewability. So it's important to adjust the loading thresholds that you might use for this to suit your content. Loading the GPT slot too early on long pages can result in high measurable but low viewable impressions. When the measurement script runs, when the measurement script runs on slots that users don't actually reach before they leave the page, that's how you get high measurable and low viewable. Loading your ads too late can also result in low measurable impressions, as users may scroll past the slot before the measurement and the ads have actually loaded. They might exit the site. Using an auto refresh function on your page can accumulate measurable but not viewable impressions if a user leaves the page open within a tab in their browser while they go somewhere else. Other things to consider. Don't request ads that you don't intend to render. And similarly, avoid hiding displayed ads with CSS, either intentionally or unintentionally. This is often seen on responsive sites, which might hide some content areas, including ads, for mobile users. But hidden ads are generally considered measurable and not viewable. So this will dilute your active view percentage viewable impressions metric. You can identify low viewability slots through reporting by breaking out the slots with different positioning, which are created from the same ad unit. So for example, if an ad unit is used to create both an above the fold and a below the fold tag, it will report aggregated figures unless you can differentiate those tags. So for example, adding a key value dimension for the position. Without this differentiation, the slots with lower viewability will pollute the reporting data for high viewability slots using the same ad unit, and you just won't be able to tell the difference. Now, how can you expand AdX competition? So one way is through dynamic allocation. This allows AdExchange and AdSense line items to compete in real time with remnant line items, which have not reached their goal, or guaranteed line items, which are expected to over-deliver. AdX and AdSense set a higher temporary CPM that they must beat when competing against guaranteed line items. This fluctuates based on their pacing to ensure delivery goals are not impacted. So for example, if you had a line item which was pacing well ahead of its goal, the temporary CPM might only be a little bit higher than the CPM for that line item normally would be. However, if this line item was very close to delivering its goal, the temporary CPM would be much higher, which means AdX needs a much higher bid and is therefore less likely to deliver to ensure that it is not going to impact that goal. So in order to set up dynamic allocation, you should set any remnant third-party line items to price priority, which ensures AdX can accurately compete. It will compete with other line items as well, but this is the fairest way to use those types of demand. You should ensure all CPMs are regularly updated using the CPM times fill rate math for remnant line items. This means that the live CPM from AdX is competing with the close to live CPM for your other line items. You should also target AdX and AdSense line items to any inventory targeted by other remnant line items. This will allow dynamic allocation to compete with those. So now optimized competition is very similar to dynamic allocation, but it sets a lower temporary CPM when competing against standard line items. So this allows it to win impressions at higher CPMs than the reservation, but in circumstances where the bid was not high enough for dynamic allocation to have normally won. For that reason, optimized competition may impact standard reservation delivery goals, but it typically only fills at less than 1% and therefore has a very limited impact on those standard line items. And it has no impact on your sponsorship delivery. Ad Manager partners are likely already using this feature, but Ad Manager 360 partners can activate it in the admin, global settings, network settings area. Opportunities and experiments. So these are revenue driving opportunities that Ad Manager surfaces specifically for your account. The great thing is you can implement most of these opportunities with a single click. These are things like lowering open auction floor prices, opting into high-performing ad technologies, or unblocking general categories that are holding revenue back. So these can be found in the Ad Manager homepage. First, you'll see on the right, we have the Opportunities card stack in the Overview tab. Then below, you'll see that there's also the Opportunities tab where you can view a more detailed view of this. These will be updated over time as Ad Manager analyzes your account performance and new features are released. So you should definitely check back often. It may be the case that you don't have any opportunities right now, but in a week or a couple of months, that may change. It's actually super simple to view all of these opportunities, and there's a lot of flexibility in which ones you activate and don't activate, even within a single card of an opportunity. Great. Now we still have some time for a quick Q&A. A couple of the most important questions we saw here. There were a lot of different themes, and there is also a lot of content that will be helpful for the next time around when we run one of these videos. But some of the questions we were able to answer today were, will Data Studio ever be integrated? So Data Studio has been integrated with Ad Manager 360. However, it's not on the agenda to integrate it with the regular Ad Manager platform. If you have an account manager, you should definitely reach out to them and discuss whether it's worth upgrading to Ad Manager 360 for your specific setup and how Data Studio could work for you. What happens when free impression threshold is met and users don't upgrade to premium? So the great thing about Ad Manager is you don't actually have to upgrade to 360 in order to, or what used to be known as DFP Premium, in order to continue using the product. If you put down payment information, you will just start paying for the impressions that you use beyond the free threshold. Should we expect any new dashboards in the UI? Definitely. This is something that we're constantly working on. It's a big focus for us, and we are trying to get more and more insights into this that are going to be the most relevant for our publishers. And a lot of people also ask for learning resources. So I found the best ways to learn about Ad Manager and all of its features would be the Help Center, which is a wealth of resources. We're constantly updating it every time there's a new launch. Also the Publisher University. Some of the videos on there still reflect the old UI, though we are in the process of refreshing that. And also the GPT reference. If you are tagging or you have some kind of a complex setup, there are plenty of great examples in there and a full description of all the different methods using the GPT code. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time. We will soon be sending an email with a survey request, and you can also include any feedback on content that you'd like to see next time. We will be including a link to today's video as well, so you can always come back and review this. And your feedback is super helpful to us. So this is a new program. Any feedback that you can give us will help to ensure that it keeps running and we can tailor the content to be the most useful for you. Thanks a lot, everyone.